Mass Effect Andromeda made a shit ton of money. It must be good, right?
In many ways, Andromeda feels like a vision half fulfilled. It contains a dizzying amount of content, but the quality fluctuates wildly. Its world and combat shine, but its writing and missions falter. As a Mass Effect game, Andromeda falls well short of the nuanced politics, morality, and storytelling of its predecessor. Yet, even after 65 hours, I still plan on completing a few more quests.
But without consistently strong writing or a breakout star in its cast to carry it through the long hours and empty spaces, disappointments like the lack of new races, no companion customization, and major performance problems and bugs take their toll.
The only real content in this review was the number at the end of it, which is usually restricted to a 7, 8, or a 9, all of which implied the game is good. Even something as disastrous as Mass Effect Andromeda will still get away with a 7 out of 10.
There's a good reason why EA and Bioware haven't been touting how many copies of Mass Effect Andromeda they sold. Mass Effect Andromeda woefully undersold from expectation. Their estimation back then was that Mass Effect Andromeda would ship 3 million units in the first week and then go to sell 6 to 9 million units in its lifetime. Fast forward to 2 months after the game's March 21st, 2017 launch, and sales have only barely surpassed their first week goal.
Earlier today, it was announced by BioWare that they are officially ending all single-player and story support for Mass Effect Andromeda, and it is also confirmed that there will not be any DLC for the project.
Oh, this hasn't happened before. Cue the music!
I told you so, you didn't listen. La 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 la.
Number 1. Of course it was gonna suck. Motherfucker. This video is the third in a series of videos. The first being, of course it will suck. Second was, of course it sucks. And this one, of course it sucked. If you notice the titles, they're similarly named. The Mass Effect Andromeda, of course, trifecta. It took a while to make this third video, but hey, look at it this way, guys. This series will be more of a trilogy than Mass Effect Andromeda will ever be. The first time I felt that there was something wrong with the game was when I saw the facial animations. Despite everything else looking good, the facial animations were off.
Teeming with alien life and civilizations.
Well, the memes start coming and they don't stop coming. These faces that you see right now are more or less what they looked like on release. Which is not a good sign for the game. Except for Sarah, who looks more attractive here than she was at release. Which is not a good sign for your game. Graphics aren't necessarily the be-all and end-all of a game. It helps, of course, but it doesn't make a game fun to play. I play a game if it's enjoyable or the story sees me through it. However, graphics are important for the Mass Effect series, especially when it comes to the facial animations. I've always felt that the Mass Effect series had a cinematic feel to it. See the black bars on the top and on the bottom of the screen? They're trying to mimic the cinematic experience. The presentation matters because these guys are gonna be the actors in your little space opera.
I'll get what you're looking for and be back before you know it.
Good to hear it. Find any clues you can. Who's abducting the colonies? Do they have any connection to the Reapers? I brought you back. It's up to you to do the rest.
So a big requirement of the series is for the facial animations of the characters you're talking to not look like shit. Or at the very least, not look at me with PTSD eyes. In that regard, Mass Effect 1 handled this better. That's not to say that Mass Effect doesn't have its problems with facial animations. But what carries the game is its writing and characters.
Sovereign's manipulating you and you don't even know it. You're already under its power.
And I can't say the same for Mass Effect Andromeda.
Alright, what happened?
To who?
To whom? and your goddamn father. Sorry, my face is tired.
She said that. Someone was paid to write that, and someone was paid to put it on that scene.
My face is tired.
Of course, they patched in the character models. It has improved over the initial release version. I think they also improved this character, but I don't have a save file for that exact moment, so I'm not bothering to replay that part again. No way.
Time to get off.
Don't like being...
What the fuck is...
What really got my weekend sense tingling was the preview videos for Andromeda gameplay, weeks before release.
Nani?
You got PB firing her gun backwards. You got a guy holding a gun, but there's no gun. You got a girl who's getting headbutted by a Krogan and she's looking elsewhere. And I know that she's supposed to look at the Krogan because in the game, they fixed that. But what they didn't fix was the Solarian, who managed to sit down without having a chair. Somebody in Bioware actually said, you know what, this gameplay footage is fine. I don't see any problems with it. This is a perfect creation. This is supposed to be the polished experience that bears the name Mass Effect. And then you got Natalie Dormer shilling your shit product? Fuck you.
The production value on this series is just extraordinary.
So I took a shot, said it was gonna suck, and guess what? It was shit! A buggy mess with laughable dialogue.
I think you're cute and I like seeing you up here. Oh my goodness, Ryder! Also, the accent. The accent is, I mean, it's not the only thing, but, okay, I should just go over there to the piloting thing.
Kill me now. You're all puppets. Tangled in
shite story, boring gameplay. Incidentally, this is my highest viewed YouTube video as of this. Oh.
Psych! That's demonetized by YouTube.
If you haven't guessed yet, this video is not going to be a balanced review. If you saw the subtitle, you knew what the fuck this kind of ride was gonna be. I want to talk about how much of a dumpster fire this game was. I didn't edit the music for that. I just found a video about a car burning and it has that music for some reason. I'm gonna be talking about several things. First is combat. Supposedly the best thing about Mass Effect Andromeda. Supposedly. Second is the story, which is the poor man's version of the Mass Effect trilogy.
That is not okay.
Your companions and choices and how they don't really matter. And lastly, why the Paragon and Renegade system is a big deal.
Because it's a big, stupid jellyfish.
And this is the main reason why your character doesn't really feel like anything. And without further ado, let's get right to it.
You underestimate my power! Don't try it!
Fuck me right in the ass!
Number 2. Combat. Cause it's ass! Let's go over the best thing in Mass Effect Andromeda. Best. Combat.
I think I really pissed that one off. Maybe because I shot him in the face.
Why would you say that? Why would you open your mouth and say something so ridiculously stupid? Why don't you just shut the fuck up? What's wrong with the combat in Mass Effect Andromeda, you ask? What's not wrong with it? First, they limit the possible usable skills you have to 3, which is odd considering the Mass Effect games that came out before this had more than 3 skill slots. So when you blow your load, you're not gonna do anything. You just wait around cover, shoot that shit, wait for the cooldown, repeat. Yeah, that's every Mass Effect game, but they had other shit going on. Like I said earlier, the first Mass Effect games had more than 3 skill slots. So when you use your one skill, you're not a sitting duck. In Mass Effect 2, they put universal cooldowns, but they're faster when you compare it in the early game for Mass Effect Andromeda. Compare the cooldown for charge in Mass Effect 2 with Andromeda. See, it's faster. Oh yeah, the cooldown for charge is relatively fast. But how about some other ability? Let's say the supermassive black hole.
Baby, don't you know I suffer? Baby,
combat quickly becomes boring as fuck. The boring nature is not helped by the continuous use of the same fucking enemies. Intro planet? Ketchup. Ice planet? Ketchup. Desert planet? Ketchup. Jungle? Ketchup.
I thought this would be boring.
Ketchup? Ketchup.
Dropship inbound. This'll get worse before it gets better.
Dropship? That's not fair!
They did that. They did that in the game. I find it amazing that a lizard-looking motherfucker is on an ice planet and on a desert planet. That shit's amazing to me. Hey! Remember Binding of Isaac Rebirth? When you play through the stages, they actually have different enemies. And even though some designs are similar, they do different things. So there's a lot of variety. Remember that shit? Fuck Rebirth. Vanilla Isaac. They thought of that way before this fucking game. Sure, the developers change the pace when you encounter a boss enemy, but what that really does is just lengthen the time before you get to the next section of the game. The best example of how boring boss fights are in this game is the Ket Cardinal. Her gimmick is that you have to hit her orb that's floating around her before you drop her shield, and then you unload everything on her.
Oh my.
Her attacks are easy to evade. It's just a big orange ball that's so telegraphed you could just dodge that shit. And the thing that makes the fight interesting is that there are enemies that pop up when her health is going down. So it's really more of how to attack the other enemies and the boss. That's what really makes the fight interesting. You would think her attacks would change as her health decreases when there are different phases in a boss fight. Or there's a visual change in the enemy, you know? Confident versus put it out of its misery. No, it's just put me out of my misery. Isn't it neat that the Cardinal has allies to call on? This is where your squad comes in. Know what I'm saying? In Mass Effect 1 and 2, you could order your squad to go stand somewhere, which you could do in Mass Effect Andromeda.
Right!
But besides that, you could tell them when to use their powers. In Andromeda, it's up to luck if they'll actually do the thing you want to.
Need help. You did it. Good job. I can't believe it. I'm proud of you.
Seriously though, let's use this old lady with a hot woman's body as an example. Cora has two abilities. Charge, which you know by now, and Nova, a close-range attack. In addition to letting your comrades move whenever you want them to, when you target an enemy with the command button, they do an attack on it. This is where the problems begin. Sometimes they don't do shit. Sometimes Cora charges, and sometimes she does the Nova to finish the job. Sometimes she doesn't do the combo though.
Understood!
And that's the combo. If you charge and then you activate the Nova, that will finish the enemy, or at least damage it a lot. You can't do that here. And here, what I mean by combo is a series of skills, because in the game, there is this concept called priming. You prime an opponent with one ability, and you hit him with another. This sets up a combo, and the types of combos depend on the mixture of abilities. It would be nice if I could tell my teammates when to use their powers so that they could prime the enemy and then I could finish up with a combo. Or I prime the enemy and they do their thing. Since the AI is so weird, I'm just gonna stand around there until I hope they do their powers. And I checked the wiki and it turns out, if this is true, and I didn't really notice it since the AI in my game just used powers whenever the fuck they wanted. When I use a priming ability, the AI just uses the detonator to do a combo. What if I don't want them to use a combo yet? What if I just want to clear the wave for the big boss? How about that? Or how about I don't want them to use their power yet since the enemy's shield is still up? Why not let the player decide when they could use their teammates' powers instead? Isn't that a fucking revelation? So in practice, it's just better to have an ability that primes a combo and another power that triggers it. And while you could say that Mass Effect 1 has the least polished combat, it has customization for your teammates. At least Mass Effect 2 even had weapon selection for your squad, which is more than I could say for Mass Effect Andromeda. What you're seeing now, that's it for your squad. You could just pick them. The extent of the customization you have for your squad is just setting up their skill points. You can't equip them with better gear, which is surprising because if you look at Dragon Age Inquisition, a game that Bioware did a few years ago, they had this. Dragon Age Inquisition was made by a different Bioware team. But why didn't the Mass Effect Andromeda team see that and go, huh, maybe we should put that in the game? One feature that I believe is closely tied to combat is the profile mechanic. Certain profiles give you boosts to abilities and other shit depending on the equipped profile. Also, let's use Bioware for this next part.
And of course, you can swap these profiles at any time, allowing you to keep the action fresh, giving you a number of ways to tackle every battle.
So you could switch up your fighting style as the situation demanded, which is admittedly an interesting idea. But its implementation is stupid as shit.
Loading these new abilities puts them in a cooldown by default.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Having cooldowns when you switch profiles defeats the purpose of having this profile switching system. The only time you'll ever profile switch is if there's a strategic advantage in doing so, right? Let's say there's a shielded enemy and there's an ability that will fuck them up. By the time you have that skill online after switching, you will have probably shot the thing to death already. And you know what's the best part about this section? It's on Insanity. In Mass Effect Insanity mode, the HP of the enemy goes up as well as their damage. Meaning, if this shit was on normal, I would have defeated them faster. Maybe my equipment is top tier, this is just before the final level. The principle still applies in the early game, this is in EOS. The same enemy dies quickly in the early game of Mass Effect Andromeda and in the late game.
Pretty sure? Focus on the remnant!
Effectively, this feature that they were so proud of and they made a video out of doesn't feel like a feature.
Loading these new abilities puts them in a cooldown by default.
Funny thing about this cooldown with profiles, remember when your dad did it though?
Sam, load combat profile. Sam, biotic amp interface mode. Sam, give me engineer profile.
Excuse me?
Oh, that's interesting, Dad. How come you could use your shit without cooldowns? It's like you got a cheat code or some shit. I could see why they did it from a balanced perspective. Imagine switching profiles and each slot that's in it has no cooldown.
This is where the fun begins.
You can't touch this.
But there's a simple solution to this. Just have at least half of the cooldown already done. Or have a stat, like with Sam. Maybe you could have a Sam synchronicity stat, something that manages your cooldowns, makes it faster. It seems like your dad has it, why not improve on that? So by the end game, you'll be a badass, like your dad.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Anything else, you know, that's not this. Finally, do you know how ridiculously retarded it is to set up a favorite? First, you gotta go to the profile tab, then you pick the profile you want. Then, you go to the skills loadout page, choose the skills you want, then go to favorites in order for it to be set up in the slot you want. Guess what, mofo? If you want to set up a unique profile for each favorite slot, you're gonna have to do this process again and again and again. Why did they set it up in the most retarded way possible? And yes, I am using retarded properly.
By the way, the definition of the word retard is to hinder or to hold someone back. I think your life is about to become retarded.
To sum up my feelings about the combat in Mass Effect Andromeda, I'd like to use an analogy. Mass Effect Andromeda's combat is like the girl you dated way back in college. You hung out, eventually you asked her out, things were great. Until you realize she has an unhealthy obsession with Japanese drama. J-drama, as she would call it. It's fine the first 2 episodes, then you realize that this was all this girl had. She doesn't want to watch a movie with you unless it had subtitles and it was in Nihongo. She just wants to watch Hanakimi over and over again. So you break it off. It's hard at first, you're really infatuated, and then you're walking and you see her hanging out with some other guy. That fuck. You fight the urge to go over there, to say what you really feel. Run away, you fuck, she's shallow as shit! Combat is shallow. Sure, they added in some stuff. Sure, you could dash around. Sure, you could float in midair to shoot enemies to death. Sure, the game automatically puts you in cover. Sure, you could change profiles in the middle of a fight. All of these things are just a distraction. It hides a very neutered skill system, diminished teammates, and a profile system that needs serious improvement. All in all, combat is a messy affair. And people say it's the best thing about the game. What the fuck are they talking about? That was a nice story earlier, wasn't it? Which is a forced segue into the next section.
The more I played it, it doesn't even feel like a Bioware game. It's weird. I like the combat, but I don't like the characters, at least in those first 2 hours. And I don't like the writing.
Number 3. Worst Mass Effect fanfic ever! I noticed something about the story of Mass Effect Andromeda. It takes bits and pieces from the previous Mass Effect games, and the resulting mixture is a piece of shit. It's an inferior version, or as Grandpa likes to say,
straight up rip-off con job.
Stop me if you heard this one. Old person narration while the protagonist looks down on Earth. In the year 21XX, the mission was originally simple, but shit gets complicated.
What's wrong, Joker? Transmission from Eden Prime, sir. You better see this.
Is that our golden world?
Scary alien cloud in the sky. Oh wait, that's Dragon Age Inquisition. Your starting party members are a black guy and a white girl. Ancient alien technology here to save the day. For the most part. An accident happens, changing the player character's life forever. Funny thing about life, you come back from the dead.
You were clinically dead for 22 seconds.
Someone should have stayed that way though. Gather a ragtag bunch of misfits to help save the universe. We got cranky old Krogan, Turian with an eye thing, and a party member who thinks she's cute but she's actually hot garbage. Oh wait. That's Dragon Age Andromeda. Central hub for missions and shit. Led by 3 people. Maternal doctor figure. Cute redheaded crew member. The Mako. AI assistant. Fastest ship in the galaxy. Loyalty missions. You can fuck an alien.
Wherever you go, take me with you.
Bad guys assimilating other races to make even more bad guys. You bump into the main bad guy unexpectedly, who then says,
I won't explain what you can't understand. I am beyond your comprehension.
Really? Fucking real. You infiltrate the base of the enemy with some Solarians. You get to choose who lives and who dies. Krogan party member gets mad because of a Krogan-related plot complication. In order to start the game's final arc, you have to go to a planet. But your leaders don't allow you.
Ah yes, Reapers.
You do it anyway. In these final moments of the game, you're playing catch-up against the bad guy, who is closer to the goal. You ride on a car to get to the final dungeon of the game. Climactic battle in space! You fight a giant thing as the final boss. You decide who gets to go to the council. And also your choices don't affect the end.
See no changes. Wake up in the morning and I ask myself.
It's okay to reuse tropes and story beats that you've had from your previous franchises, so long as you know what you're doing. There's this chart made by one Hellforge about the cliches Bioware has been using for their games. Also, they've been using funny violent man since Baldur's Gate. So what makes Andromeda different? The writing. So I'm gonna run through this story with the major plot beats and the troubles I have with it. I'ma crash this plot with no survivors. Let's just give the protagonist an appropriate name.
This will be your creation.
You wake up on the Ark, these ships that have left the Milky Way galaxy to colonize Andromeda. And already the problems start.
What's happening? It broke free!
Just hang on!
Uh-oh, something bad's happening. Korra saves the day by flipping a switch. Whoops, there's a problem, Ryder. Fix it, please. Thanks.
Barely in Andromeda and we're already scrambling.
The adventure begins.
For the record, I do not believe that this is the best way to start an adventure. Korra turned off a switch, and Ryder turned something off with fancy orange technology. You are a fucking space repairman. Is this a fucking joke? So you go to the bridge of the ship, and Dad greets you.
Solid ground sounding pretty good right now.
Yeah, but...
Pretty good isn't good enough.
Greets. He and the captain are discussing whether they should send a team down the planet. It appears that the black thing that hit the ship is coming from there. And you do, since the game needs to happen. But before you go down, Dad comes in and shows he does have a heart.
I heard what happened. Your sister's strong. She'll make it.
So you're mad in one scene and you're nice in another. Just like my animes! Mandatory inspirational speech.
When people look back on this, and they will, they'll remember we didn't give up. That we kept dreaming. That our first few faltering steps in Andromeda were the beginning of everything they know.
So that was kinda nice. I don't see anything that can ruin this moment.
Been waiting 600 years for this.
It's ruined! This is not the only time that the characters in the game mention the 600-year thing.
I've been taking it easy for 600 years.
Feels like centuries since we spoke.
Don't think I'll need sleep for the rest of my life.
Maybe another decade or two wouldn't have hurt.
I hated it, specifically because it's this smug feeling I get. Isn't it cute that we're self-aware? So we land on the planet, and the helmet is cracked. It's gonna be important later on. We shoot our enemies, rescue the people, bada bing, bada... Dad has a plan to turn off the electricity.
It's the dark energy cloud the Hyperion hit. It's affecting the whole planet, interfering with that. And I think if we can get in there and shut the tower down, the lightning goes away. And the shuttle can get us out of here, in theory.
Which conveniently works. But then something bad happens. Oh my god, was that some foreshadowing?
Nice.
Dad sacrifices his life to save us. Alec doesn't do the logical thing of just sharing the helmet. Why not just take turns with the helmet? The air is toxic. Why don't you just repair the helmet with Omnigel? As this user points out, the Mako in Mass Effect 1 could take a ton of damage and still get repaired. Maybe you still need to program the suit to make a faceplate. Oh, that shit's easy. Sam, activate Engineer Omnitool Fixing Mode. Regardless of whether or not it's logical, you can throw logic out of the window if it serves a story purpose. It increases some drama, it develops a character, and the only reason I can see for this scene happening is that Daddy has to die so Ryder can be the protagonist. I mean, no shit, right? But this is your character's dad. The player should feel something. I don't feel anything. Remember Dragon Age Origins? You start out with different origins depending on your character's race and class. Let's start with the second best origin, the Human Noble. The Human Noble arc had many moments where you felt affection from your dad and your mom.
While your brother and I are both away, I'm leaving you in charge of the castle. I'm certain you'd more than prove yourself, but I am not willing to deal with your mother if you join the war.
Your father and brother are marching off to fight Maker knows what. All the assurances in the world don't comfort me.
You had the sense that this was one big happy family.
And bring us some ale and wenches while you're at it. For the men, of course.
What's a wench? Is that what you pull on to get the bucket out of the well?
What a stupid little cunt. It's gonna be fun to learn more about him in the game. Oh, fuck. So when your dad dies and when your mom stays behind, you actually feel something.
So sorry it's come to this, my love.
We had a good life and did all we could. It's up to our children now.
Then go, pup. Warn your brother. Know that we love you both. You do us proud.
They've broken through the gates. We must go now.
Goodbye, darling.
Let's then briefly touch on the best origin story, the City Elf origin. Why is it the best?
Sorry to interrupt, Mother, but I'm having a party, and we're dreadfully short of female guests.
Just a good time with the ladies, that's all.
Vaughn took Shiani, Nessiara, Valora, and the rest of the women in the wedding party back to the palace. The Elder is talking to Duncan, that Grey Warden. Kill 'em all. You... what?
See, the writers of Bioware of old figured out that you need some origin characters for the player to be invested in the action. In Dragon Age, you also spend time with your mother. Not only can you talk to her during the prologue, she also becomes a party member. Huh. At least they're consistent with the old lady in a hot woman's body.
Yeah. Mr. Wilder, are you trying to seduce me?
No.
Hey.
Shiani, on the other hand, is not a party member, unlike her other cousin, but what she does is important for the character. She establishes that you have a caring relationship with her, she got your back, and she saves you from the bigger asshole at this point in time, and she pays the price for helping you.
Don't leave me alone. Please. Please take me home.
Is it cheap? Yes. Is it effective? You tell me, motherfucker. How about for Mass Effect Andromeda?
I mean, what was I thinking? Killing off the hero's father in the first act? He only has 2 lines. He needs more scenes. More engagement, so when he dies, we'll feel it.
Andromeda doesn't do that. I see 3 major times Ryder actually interacts with this fuck. The initial meetup in the bridge, the I actually care guy scene, and the heroic sacrifice time. In between these 3 moments, you don't really get to spend time with your dad. There's no dialogue to get to know him better or to understand his motivations. Really, you spend most of your time with this doofus and the old lady. Do you know when you get to know him better? When you peel the layers of Alec Ryder? It's after he dies.
Time is out of joint.
You are given a side quest to get to know the character better by unlocking memories. And it's the shittiest fucking side quest ever made. It's a fetch quest across different planets.
Another eidetic trigger, Sam?
So you're expecting me to go out of my way for a character I do not give a fuck about?
No, son.
The icing on the cake really is Ryder's possible reactions to the death of his father. If you choose this one,
He made the ultimate sacrifice. He got the team out of danger. We all owe him for that.
his response is so generic. If you don't really know the person and you had to say something nice, that's what you would say. The other option fits everything else better.
Honestly, we weren't close. I never really knew him growing up.
It's funny because I replayed it to see this scene and they fixed the facial animations, but what he's saying doesn't really fit his face.
I never really knew him growing up.
I would buy it if he was saying it in a regretful way, like, it's too bad I didn't get to know my dad better. No, it's just, I didn't really know him. How hard is it to copy your own shit, BioWare, huh? It boggles the mind. Oh, guess what? Guess what your dad does at the end? He turns on a switch to fix something. Yes, we can! So Alec Ryder dies, you feel nothing, your character's face feels nothing, and you're made Pathfinder. This dude shows up. He copies your dad, and he's supposed to be intimidating because of the music. But he doesn't really feel intimidating, and we'll get to that later. So you enter the Nexus and you're given a task.
The challenge is to settle a world in spite of all that. This one here. Eos.
You meet not Garrus, not Rex, and not Liara during the course of the mission. You also use not Prothean technology, not Prothean, okay, Remnant, to enter the vault. Sam reboots the system, but it has the side effect of unleashing a black cloud, deleting everything. There's a funny thing that happens during this whole sequence.
Too far to jump! Got another bridge?
See, the developers wanted a sense of tension. You're being chased by the black cloud. Ooh. Use the drawbridge before the cloud gets to you. Spooky! Ignore the fact that you could stroll comfortably using the conveniently placed markers towards your safety. Isn't it tense? Follow the ride to feel something, children. But Weekend, you already know the route. That's why you could walk around without any sort of danger, because you already know where to go. Exactly, dipshit. Imagine playing through this sequence as the devs intended.
Fast as fuck, boy.
You will never be in danger. The cloud will never reach you. Fuck, if you move fast enough, when the camera turns back, the cloud isn't there. The intended effect is not achieved. You find out that the vault is part of a bigger terraforming network. So you decide to go to the other node that's blinking because it's active. And you got a plan and you're on the road, but there's a bump on it.
Where is the one who activated the remnant? Their DNA signature is there.
Just tell me what you want.
I won't explain what you can't understand.
The problem with the Archon is that he wants to be this hard-ass, scary alien thing with unknowable desires, goals, and motivations. And you know what I saw when I first looked at Archon? There's this little monkey in the Philippines, a tarsier. I'll let you draw your conclusions. I'm saying he's a little monkey. A little joke of a monkey. Unintentionally or not, the writers of Mass Effect Andromeda draw a parallel between the Archon and Sovereign. I got this idea from Smudboy in his very excellent, very thorough deconstruction of the plot of Mass Effect Andromeda. I advise that you check that out. Link will be in the description. As Smudboy points out,
I won't explain what you can't understand.
Rudimentary creatures of blood and flesh. You touch my mind, fumbling in ignorance, incapable of understanding.
Why is he trying to sound like a stupider version of Sovereign? Never mind, he just told us he's looking for a guy who activated the remnant. Cat's kind of out of the bag here, buddy. Is he dumb or are the writers dumb?
I would also like to add that Sovereign worked because he was intimidating and scary as fuck.
Sovereign isn't just some Reaper ship Saren found. It's an actual Reaper.
He's like a squid. He's like a metal squid. I think they were going for a Cthulhu vibe here. An eldritch horror with unknowable desires.
The pattern has repeated itself more times than you can fathom. Organic civilizations rise, evolve, advance, and at the apex of their glory, they are extinguished.
And this guy has no depth. The purpose of the alien unknowable enemy in Mass Effect was to highlight Saren's desperation. Saren is the more interesting villain because he believed that he was doing the right thing.
I'm forging an alliance between us and the Reapers, between organics and machines. And in doing so, I will save more lives than have ever existed.
You could even say the same for the Elusive Man. Cerebus has committed atrocities, but he's doing it for humanity.
Adapting the technology of the collector base could be the biggest advancement for humankind since the discovery of the relays. It will secure our dominance in the galaxy against the Reapers and beyond.
Human dominance? Or just Cerberus?
They're one and the same. My mission has always been to promote and secure humanity's continued strength.
We do not even get to understand what drives the Archon. He is the most generic antagonist in the Mass Effect games I've played. Maybe there's a similar antagonist in Mass Effect 3, I don't know. I did not play 3. I enrolled in the Rich Evans school of why would I play Mass Effect 3 since they established that they do not understand what makes the game special, so why the And okay, fine. The most evil villain kicking puppies for shits and giggles, that might be a fun villain to go against. But at the end, they don't even do that. You do not get to fight the Archon directly. What you do fight is this robot thing in phases. Hey, remember Dragon Age Origins when you can actually kill the rapist asshole? Remember that?
Good.
There's no catharsis when I kill him. It's the opposite of catharsis. This is Sisrotak.
Ha, look at that.
We managed to escape thanks to Sam.
I have almost regained control of the ship. I have plotted a potential course through the Scourge.
Do it!
Oh, we'll talk about Sam later. Don't worry. You'll know when. And we get to land on another planet with these Knuckles-looking motherfuckers. I find it funny that Jal appears from nowhere because you see the scene before this happens. It's zoomed out and you can't see Jal. So what, he was hiding in the back? Like scares?
Hey, what's up, guys?
So you need to access their vault because this is where the blinking thing is. But the Moshai, the person who knows where the vault is, was kidnapped.
There must be another way. How can I convince you? Can I offer help?
Arrogant. I don't know you, let alone trust you. Why would I want your help?
And you gotta do some errands to gain their trust. And you prove your worth. Okay, Sam proves its worth.
This Sam of yours, in your head, how is it allowing you to interface with the Remnant?
Sam helps with analysis and translation, among other things. It's complicated.
And you get the mission to save the Moshai, the female pope, as it were. It's really progressive, Bioware.
Oh, I was talking about my discomfort with your...
During this quest, I actually felt something. I brought Jal along since it was an Angaran mission and we're gonna save his leader. And we realized that the Angarans were being converted by the Ket to become other Ket. He was sad, and I was sad, and I felt mad. This facility is doing the procedure. Oh my god. Then I realized that this was the only time it clicked in my head that the Ket could be a legitimate threat. I mean, fine, okay, they have ships, they have bases across the galaxy, but I'm not thinking that's apocalyptic. I'm thinking if you have a bigger army, a better army, or both, you could actually fight them. But this exaltation shit...
This is straight up evil.
It only took me 15 hours to get to this point, to make me feel that the Ket are actually a legitimate thing to fight against. I mean, in Mass Effect, we get the credible alien threat that was introduced in the first mission that's doing what the Ket is doing right here now. This was what, 20 minutes in the first game? 30 minutes? You fight the boring boss that I showed earlier, and then you're given a dramatic choice of either blowing up the facility or not. But really, either decision has no bearing on the story. Deciding to save the Angara just makes the Moshai passive-aggressive.
I feel for your people in a way that you clearly do not for mine.
And she lets you see the vault anyway. Choosing to blow up the facility makes the Moshai happy, lets you see the vault, and Jal, the person who suggested that you shouldn't blow this shit up,
Our compatriots are also here. Our fighters, our scientists, our strength.
doesn't say anything. Sure, he's mad right after, but that's basic shit. I'm talking about the ramifications story-wise. Does he continue with your party? What does he say to your character? And this is what he talks about after that.
You saved the Moshai. I won't forget that.
What is this? Why not have the Moshai not take us to the vault? Because she's mad. The writers could have made it so that Jal takes you to the vault instead and you can still open it because of Sam. If the Moshai is pleased because you blew up the facility, Jal stays with you up until a certain point because he's disappointed in the decision of the Pathfinder. He joins the Rokar or something. Not only does your decision have no effect on the story, it has no effect on the game. Notice that Jal says this line.
We can come back to destroy it. Let's free these here now.
If you chose to save the Angara, there is no such option to go back and blow the facility up. The fact that Jal says this line also diminishes any sort of tension the scene would have actually had. This sequence fails on so many levels. Oh, and you could somehow decide to coldly shoot this alien down. Which is weird. There has never been a decision throughout this whole time where Ryder can be a piece of shit.
But you have to let them...
Alright, time to get off.
Don't like...
Be gone, fuck!
Ryder can do anything the player needs him to do so long as there's a button prompt there, without any prior build-up whatsoever. We'll get to that, don't worry, we'll get to that.
This image was on a relic the Archon showed me. He called it Meridian. I think that Meridian is the control center for all the vaults.
So you have to get to the Ket main ship to find the way to Meridian, the key to everything. And I'd like to point out we don't actually see what Meridian does that makes the Archon believe that it can conquer the galaxy. You think about it for a second. So far, what we know is that there's this terraforming network. I see that Meridian is important for a terraforming perspective, but as opposed to the conflict of the game, like we're supposed to stop the Archon from getting there, I don't really feel that. Remember in Mass Effect 1? Bad things are gonna happen. Stop the Reapers. Got it. Stop the Archon getting Meridian.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
So the Archon says this.
With Meridian, we can transform every world in this cluster to a wasteland.
So he's weaponizing the terraforming aspect of Meridian. But he also says this to Ryder.
There's more to Meridian than you know. Changing the weather is a fraction of its power, and I will not allow you to defile it.
And it seems like Meridian can create life since the Angarans were made there, and can manufacture spaceships. I am convinced that even the Archon doesn't really know what it does.
The human knows nothing of its true power. Even we don't fully understand it.
So you got all these fantastical ways to kill the cluster, Archon. It could be a terraforming weapon, a bioweapon, a robot-making weapon. So what kind of weapon is it?
I can see the network. They are architects of life. You command nothing.
So the secret of the technology of Meridian is to summon robot tentacles?
They are architects of life.
And you show this near the end of your game?
Time is out of joint.
It's not even galactic in scale. Remember Guardians of the Galaxy 2? When the bad shit started to happen, it spread across the galaxy. They don't even do that here. The scale that's supposed to be galactic is so localized, it's pathetic. Like the villain! At least the writing is consistent. Now, where was I?
Drop it now!
You first.
Oh yeah, we're in this planet because we have to find an Angaran who knows the location of the Archon ship so that we could find Meridian.
Where is it? Found it.
That thing's busted.
The transponder's power source is drained. Once complete, this should provide us with the Archon's location, and in turn, Meridian's.
Once you take on the mission to infiltrate the Archon ship, you're effectively in the endgame. But the game throws a wrench at you. It tricks you into taking 2 other missions. Talk to the Krogan in New Tuchanka, or visit this desolate planet for a lead on the Turian Golden World. I say trick you, because they put it as a priority mission. But the moment you land on these things, they're not priority ops anymore. You could finish the game right now. You could do the Ket mission that starts the endgame. I know this because I did that. But I went through the missions, so we shall suffer together. I did the Krogan mission first, and I met this very charming leader, Nakmor-Morda.
New galaxy, same crap.
Since we're here, let's talk about Lady Krogans. Why do they sound like a gay man with a lisp?
Hey, Nexus, I'm the one you talk to around here.
We're here with the amazing Tim Guns.
That sterility virus they infected us with left most of our children stillborn.
I thought maybe we could just do some reading.
No advice for you, only regret. Watch, the Krogan will thrive and the initiative will pay.
I feel my IQ is plummeting.
I tried to check out if this was a Mass Effect thing, like, I know there's a Lady Krogan in Mass Effect 3, and she doesn't sound like a Krogan in the Andromeda game.
But perhaps one day, when this is over, you can know it.
She sounds like a woman. It's very powerful. It's slightly deeper. It's a female. You know it's a girl. This little boy has a more convincing, slightly deep feminine voice.
Yes. Would you like to see?
Isn't he precious? I looked up the voice actors for this game, and Allegra Clark voiced Kesh, which is amazing since she did this voice in Dragon Age Inquisition.
It's good you've returned. We heard of your encounter.
Nakmor-Morda's not credited, and I can't blame her. Him? Here? Because she is such a massive cunt.
Welcome to New Tuchanka.
You mean that? Because it doesn't sound like you mean that.
You're right. I don't. Why are you here, Pathfinder? to see what a successful colony looks like.
Our outposts are new. We could use the advice.
Get out of my face before I smash it.
I'm gonna journal about this later. See you soon.
It's a fetch quest, by the way. Get the drive core. This is the payoff for the whole fetch quest. Morta participates in the best fight scene in Mass Effect history.
If there's an overlord, they should be from the oldest Krogan blood, Clan Jorgal. Watch, I'll rescue the drive core and make us so powerful that the Nexus will bow down to us. Except you can't, cause we have it.
I'm impressed, Strux. You're more cunning than most Clan Jorgal. Smarter, even.
Nakmor arrogance. Now I've bested you, Morta, and Clan Nakmor will pay with blood.
I feel my IQ is plummeting.
I kinda wanna say it was worth it. Then the moon planet thing. I don't exactly remember what I did here. The main issue I had with this planet is that I could not get off of it. When I played this game originally, this interface wasn't patched in yet. So I was stuck in the planet for a good 10 minutes alt-tabbing and researching how to get off. If only the old Mass Effect games figured out how to solve this problem, so that the new Bioware team could have a reference. Oh heavens to Murgatroyd, if there was only some way. Only if the developers realized it early on. Then we finally get to the endgame. Or, as I'd like to call it, before you enter the Archon ship, you investigate the Solarian ship that's tethered there. Eventually, you meet Captain Kirahei. I mean, the Solarian Pathfinder. Then you sneak into Saren's base. I mean, the Archon. It's the Archon ship. What? Shepard then runs into Saren, who gets his essence. Ryder then fights through hordes of Ket to get to the Archon's artifact in order to find Meridian. Kirahei, in turn, fights the Ket directly to distract them so that Shepard can do his mission.
Archon, do you hear me? Now you have 2 Pathfinders to deal with, and we're not impressed with your security.
You with me so far? What the fuck? This is the point where the timeline diverges. So the Solarians want to sabotage the Archon's guns so that the Solarian ship can escape. My whole problem with this sequence is that Pathfinder Ryder knows that they're going into the Archon ship. So wouldn't the best way to stop the Archon is blowing his ship up? You infiltrate his base, you get the location of Meridian, then you blow up the ship. It's like if Shepard infiltrated Saren's base just to touch on the Reaper to find out what it is, but he left the Krogan breeding facility intact. But Weekend! This is a scientific endeavor. They wouldn't have military technology. Master Pimp! Slap! First off, that's bullshit, okay? In the game, the only things I could research are weapons, armor, and augmentations for the same. It would have been cool if I could research something, like an outpost could research some medical tech, so that my sister could be revived earlier. Or I could research technology and I don't have to run out of fuel whenever I speed using the Nomad. Some fun thing. But as it stands, you're just a doofus who happens to research weapons to blow shit up. Speaking of blowing shit up, remember when we blew up that Ket base?
Pathfinder, it seems the program I used to breach the shield could overload it and destroy this facility.
Sam can do whatever the fuck it needs to do. They just didn't choose to do it. They could just go, Sam, can you do something to blow this shit up?
Hi, this is Sam!
The only reason I can think of as to why the writers didn't put that solution in the game was because they needed a robot tentacle boss fight at the end. Shepard and Ryder also meet their nemesis. Shepard and Saren actually have a heart-to-heart talk. Saren reveals his motivations. After being a smug prick,
your species needs to learn its place, Shepard.
He breaks down. He shows us his layers.
I'm not doing this for myself. Don't you see? Is submission not preferable to extinction?
I'd rather die than live under the rule of those machines.
It's essentially 2 conflicting philosophies having a dialogue before blowing each other up. What do we get with the other one? Archon puts Ryder in a trap. He gets Ryder's something, and then Ryder kills himself and the game is over. This scene also highlights Archon's lack of depth.
Such an unlikely rival. Was almost invigorating to have one. And yet, it's a fitting end.
You have no idea what you're messing with. Now I suggest you let...
He's just a mustache-twirling villain saying vague evil shit. Also, when Ryder has to kill himself because of Sam's suggestion, I went, oh, it's gonna be okay. When has Sam failed?
Well, imagine my shock.
Both protagonists face an important decision. Choose one life over another. But the thing is, the other game has more weight to it. Look at the decision in Andromeda coldly. Choosing between a Pathfinder who I just met versus scouts that I never met. No shit, I'll choose the Pathfinder. The problem with this whole sequence is that the writers forgot to introduce the scouts. I don't even have an emotional excuse to pick those guys. It's not like Mass Effect 1 introduced characters late in their game and gave them some characteristic.
You all know the mission and what is at stake. I have come to trust each of you with my life, but I have also heard murmurs of discontent. I share your concerns. We are trained for espionage. We would be legends, but the records are sealed. Glory in battle is not our way. Think of our heroes. The Silent Step, who defeated a nation with a single shot. Or the Ever Alert, who kept armies at bay with hidden facts. These giants do not seem to give us solace here, but they are not all that we are. Before the network, there was the fleet. Before diplomacy, there were soldiers. Our influence stopped the Rachni, but before that, we held the line. Our influence stopped the Krogan, but before that, we held the line. Our influence will stop Saren. In the battle today, we will hold the line. Good luck, Commander. I hope we will meet again.
What the fuck? Also, even if that scene didn't do it for you, you'll probably care about the character that goes along with them.
I'll go with the Solarians.
With all due respect, Gunnery Chief, it's not your place to decide.
You have done missions with this teammate, and at that point, it will probably mean something.
Yeah, good luck.
And even if you didn't care about any of them, you never talked to them in the Normandy, there was an attempt made by Bioware. And you can't say the same for this abortion of a game. Also, Rika says this.
It's Rika. I'm pinned down. Don't think I'm gonna make it.
Pinned down my ass.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
It's the same scene if you chose the Krogan. I'm not saying they're lazy. Oh, no. I'm printing that shit in capital letters and shouting it out. And if you do save the Krogan, another Solarian will take place as the Pathfinder immediately after this. At least the writing is consistent. So you finish the quest and you confront your leaders about the impending doom. Both forbid you to go to the final dungeon. In the original Mass Effect, you can't just walk out. Your ship is locked down. Anderson has to take one for the team so that you can leave.
Get us out of here, Joker. Now!
In Mass Effect Andromeda, you could just go. And then Sam magically creates the thing that you need to trick the Ket.
The Ghost Storm technology has been fully researched, Pathfinder.
Excellent. We're ready to make our push on Meridian then.
You land on Meridian.
This isn't Meridian. Or at least not all of it.
No, this actually happens. The writers thought they were being clever.
That's it. That's Meridian.
Or Kitasira, as the Ket call it.
Do you get it? The translation is not Meridian, it's another word, so it's probably not Meridian, do you get? They think they're clever, but it's actually... So dumb. Think about it for a second, guys. You run through this dungeon, fight a bunch of shit, find out it's not Meridian, then what you do is you go out of the dungeon, find some points on the galaxy, then go back inside the dungeon just to unlock Meridian.
One last remnant door.
You think you would go to Meridian, you think this is the final area of the game. It breaks the momentum of the story. That's not very clever, is it? Oh no! Remember how Mass Effect did it? The moment you choose to go to Ilos, GG baby!
We're in the endgame now.
Yes, the final dungeon isn't Ilos, it's in fact the Citadel. But what the game did was just teleport you to Citadel when you reach the end of the dungeon. You don't go out of Ilos just to go back to Ilos to go to the final dungeon. So the pacing is smooth. The momentum is actually increasing. The stakes were significantly raised in Ilos. You realize that it's not actually the final goal of Saren, it's just a backdoor to the Citadel. The Citadel is in fact a massive relay for the Reapers, and if he activates it by the back door, it will signal the Reapers to attack. Are there any similar dramatic shifts in Mass Effect Andromeda? You find out that the Ungarans were created by the Jardan, the remnant people, but that knowledge doesn't raise the stakes. At most, you'll find out that Meridian probably has the capability to create life. But the game doesn't really do anything interesting with that concept. Like, does activating Meridian allow the user to mind control the Ungaran? Can you actually genetically modify the Ungarans further? Something! We don't find out what Meridian is capable of until the end with the tentacle shit. It's just a shocker that has no payoff. I just hope the plot in Andromeda doesn't get more stupid.
Congratulations, Pathfinder. A great day for us all.
Sam, what's going on?
Archon shows up, laughs in your face, seals your connection to Sam. You play the other Ryder. And then the Ryder manages to do this.
I don't believe it. Are you okay?
Look at this moment. Breathe it in, because this shit is absolutely fucking ridiculous. At this point, I'll talk about Sam and how he actually drives the plot. Think about it really carefully, guys. Who actually moves the story forward? Is it Ryder? Or was it Sam?
Hi, this is...
Scanning? Sam. Deciphering alien languages? Sam. Interfacing with alien tech? Sam. Finding a way to escape the Archon? Sam.
I have almost regained control of the ship. I have plotted a potential course through the Scourge.
Do it!
Blowing up the Kett base? Sam. Stopping Archon's trap?
Sam, what can you tell me?
Sam. Side quest solutions? Sam.
Sam, what exactly was going on here?
Ryder being able to do what Sam has been doing for you comes from nowhere. They didn't even do a bullshit science explanation. The closest thing I could find to an explanation was after the game in the playable epilogue.
Our connection has been restored to normal.
Normal. You need him again?
I need Sam to make it easier. I was adapting, but damage was being done.
How hard was it for PB or Suvi or science person in the team to go, oh, it seems like Ryder is adopting to using the interface thanks to his experience? There's none of that shit here. What does PB say during this?
You did an impossible thing.
No shit. You gotta explain shit to us. If you don't explain it immediately, it would make you look stupid. It would make you look like you don't care. It's like when the Ungaran suddenly knew how to speak English.
You crossed dark space. I've heard of your journey.
But moments earlier, they didn't know shit.
Tov Jagalesto.
Remember Mass Effect 1?
Wait a minute. How come I can understand you? Why aren't you speaking the Prothean language?
I have been monitoring your communications since you arrived at this facility. I have translated my output into a format you will comprehend.
The writers in Mass Effect 1 anticipated that. This is just inexcusable. So Ryder escapes, he gets a fleet, and then they replay the Citadel versus Earth fleet versus Saren's forces and Sovereign. And you land on Meridian, and the game shows you how much of a joke the main villain is.
Pathfinder, I've arranged a distraction while I find Meridian control.
Oh yeah, dude, tell them that it's a distraction. That seems like the smart thing to do. After fighting through waves of enemies, you confront him, and after a long, boring, aggravating boss fight, you turn on a switch to fix something.
I feel nothing.
Then the game teases you with sequel hooks like whoever you pick for the Council and the Quarian fleet coming home. And it's totally not the ending to Mass Effect, guys, I swear to God.
Sovereign was only a vanguard.
It feels weird to be on a ship that isn't moving.
The Reaper fleet is still coming.
We're explorers. There's more to see out there.
Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. And
Let's
I'm gonna
go
find
find
some way to stop them.
And the main plot is over. What a fucking drag. It feels like I'm forgetting something though.
Don't like being sat on, huh?
do a thing.
Thanks to my wonderful patrons, the Dirvinator, Peter B, and Julian Reyes, as well as these other wonderful warriors,